have fallen faster than any demographic in America over the last 40 years.
It's a different world now. Like, we don't need men the way that they used to.
Nobody needs men!
The future is female.
Men and women are drifting further apart, and society is crumbling because of it.
A fascinating debate has broken out about the value of marriage.
You've kind of got the trad-con versus red pill thing.
This men's rights crowd that sometimes just goes too far the other way.
You need to stop acting like grown boys and infants and actually become men.
Marriage is a bond, and it's a sacred bond.
It's a machine designed to extract resources from you.
Now many of the red-pilled have taken the position that it's bad for men to get married.
Hannah Pearl Davis, or just Pearly things.
One of the most controversial faces in all of the internet.
She goes on to say that marriage is a terrible deal for men.
Because if me and you were in a business contract, you would never sign a contract where I am paid to leave.
Gee, what could go wrong there?
74% or something of divorces are initiated by women. Men have everything to lose, primarily their own children.
Men get killed by the courts and by divorce laws.
I had no idea that courts of family law were courts of equity, not courts of law.
Because in family court, you don't need evidence to accuse someone of abuse. You need no evidence. When you guys say get married young, a lot of these men don't know what they're signing up for, and you're not going to be there when their entire life falls apart. I interview them on the other side.
I didn't meet my son until he was 15 months old.
How much did you spend trying to get him back?
On legal fees alone was about $200,000.
Before you know it, you're homeless. You're literally just thrown out onto the street.
We absolutely reinforce bad behavior from women.
Wives are taught to leave their husbands, and then daughters grow up without their fathers.
Family is the foundation of society.
Every problem in society comes from single mother homes.
A lot of women will just chase this negative rabbit hole of happiness, endless happiness.
Feminism's biggest failures is it lies to women. We tell women to date as many guys as possible. We tell them to put off family into marriage.
You are allowed to leave your perfect husband. You are allowed to end a relationship with a really great boyfriend.
Oh, freeze your eggs, have an abortion. What? You're evil.
I don't think there's anything else in life that we actually ever go into preparing to fail. Right. Like, if you have the mentality of this is going to go wrong and be pessimistic, naturally the outcome is going to be that it's going to fail anyway. Yeah. It's self-sabotage. And that's the thing, like, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
This myth that we live in an age of male privilege. Where's my male privilege?
They think, well, men have all the rights. They have all the power.
Privileged patriarchal system that we have.
Why doesn't our society care about men's rights?
I have no friends,
no wife, and no social life.
Men are alone in this situation. Men are homeless. Men are thinking about eating guns.
I've seen so many men on the brink of suicide, and they didn't do anything wrong.
How are you equal if the men are the ones that have to fight and die to defend the country? The men are the ones that build and maintain all the infrastructure.
Women are helplessly dependent upon men.
The so-called deaths of despair from suicide, overdose, or alcohol, 3 times higher among men than among women.
Culture is telling men you are no good.
You got to get your act together.
I think men have failed themselves.
What kind of a man are you? What kind of a woman are you going to attract?
If men are in trouble, so are women.
Everybody knows this is a huge problem, but nobody wants to admit it.
Every single woman at the table said they wanted a man.
500K.
500K.
300K.
300K.
200K.
Am I crazy?
Everything is really set up against you to fail as a man.
If men make less than women, women don't want to marry them.
So you know who wants more economically and emotionally viable men? Women.
I don't want to be an independent woman anymore.
I don't want to be a strong, independent woman.
I'm over it. When is it going to be my turn?
Where are we meeting the men that don't stop?
I can't keep having these same conversations.
The only simp here is you, Pearl. You simp for men.
I think you simp for women.
She's a provocateur. She says stupid stuff, but Pearl is right about this.
It's already happening. It's just not out in the open yet.
Now it's just hookup culture is going to be our fairy tale ending because men don't want a wife and women can't find a husband.
The future, if everybody follows your path, is there is no future.
We go into population decline, and our economy goes into decline.
Civilization will crumble.
The American story does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily here on the Audacity Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. You can bring your time and attention anywhere, and for some reason, you guys choose to bring it here. Oh my gosh, I'm a little bit wiped today, guys. I just did a Twitter space for like 4 hours, and talking about this performative marriages. Now, before we get started, I do want to say thank you to the people that have donated to the divorce documentary. I need to re-log into this. I just got my new laptop, so I'm very excited. Hold on, let me. I should have did this before the show. I know we're. But since we're here, I'll tell you guys about my day. Hello. So today I was on Twitter, as I do, and I kind of like to start the show by talking about the conversations I was having on Twitter. Now, a lot of people are coming after me right now because I'm pointing out that modern marriages are performative marriages. And if men opt into marriage today, most men will have to be okay with building a woman's brand online. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but I am saying that the men will have to adapt or survive. And what a lot of beta males don't realize is that by building your woman's social media following, and if a woman is making a social media account that's dedicated to how good of a wife she is, a lot of them are going to use that as marketing for their next husband. They don't realize this. And beta males will fight and die for this. So donations from last time. John, $150. Oh my gosh. Dobremir, $28. Thank you so much. Viewed, $34. Anonymous, $53. You can donate to the documentary by the GoFundMe link in the description. So today I'm just going to go through my tweets before we get into today's show. All right. So, oh my gosh, I was having a conversation with someone I know that's overweight, right? And I'll tell you my thought processes behind this tweet. So I tweeted, fat people dating is just both parties telling their friends that the other would be cute if they lost weight. Because I was talking to a fat person the other day about their date, and they said that statement to me that, the other person would be cute if they lost weight. And I'm like, they probably said the same thing about you. Yeah. So I said beta males have no idea they're fighting for their wives to market how good of a wife they are for husband number 2, but you are not ready for that conversations. Beta males will accept being used as marketing for a woman's online brand. They will not only accept it, but they will fight on behalf of women to make it socially acceptable. And married women will die on the hill of making private moments public in relationship because it gives women power and status. Now, I'd like to say this is not meant to be hateful, but my job is to predict and talk about the trends. And the trends is that marriage in the future, and it already is instead of a lifelong commitment, it is used to signal status in a group. And it's basically used for women to say to other women, look at how much my husband did for me. So that's marriage nowadays, unfortunately. And I just kind of was trolling these e-girls a little bit because they all post the rings, but never the husband. And I had to think about this. And I was like, do women ever miss an opportunity to signal status? And I'm like, if their husband looked good enough for them to get status from it, they would post him. But I don't think their husbands do. They're e-girls. Everything is about their brand. They know it. They just don't like having it pointed out. It's kind of like a dude with bad teeth. So I just kept asking the question, am I the bad guy for noticing that women want to be in relationships to build their brand? And I can't help but notice. And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you what. Those are always the worst relationships. Those always are. I I'd also like to say publicly, I had no problem with any of the rings involved in this. This one was kind of funny. I'm just kind of going over my tweets for the day. So the Savannah chick, and I got nothing against these women personally. I'd like to say I don't know you, but I can't see what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So Savannah Stone, she says, I got engaged and married within the same week. The husband didn't go into debt for my ring. We didn't go into debt for a massive wedding. My wedding dress was $60 in overnight shipping. Didn't go into debt over a honeymoon. It's not about the material and the money spent, which is why so many women obsess over. It's a lifelong commitment under God. If you're attacking marriage and family for any reason, you're doing the devil's work. So I don't know if this is me attacking marriage. But I think I have the right to make observations based on what you put publicly available online. Okay. I didn't ask to see you bitches' engagement photos. Okay. I didn't ask for this, right? But you guys are saying, here is my personal life. Here it is. Look at my personal life. And then if I say, hey, this looks kind of performative, I become the villain? Really? Really? I don't know. So I just kind of noticed, and I have to think about what is the thought process behind this post. This is a virtue signal post because she's communicating, I am married, I had a cheap dress, I didn't go into debt, which is fine, right? I would argue those are all good things. However, you have to understand how I'm thinking. I'm like, the psychology behind wanting to do that, it kind of makes you like a little narcissistic because it's like, look at me, look how awesome I. Do you know what I mean? All right. So pictured wedding ring, not pictured husband. That's what I just, this isn't a personal thing against her, but I see these pictures on the timeline all the time. And I always quote tweet it because it's pretty much always no husband and always the ring. Trey came in. He's called into the show. Her ring looks better than Sarah's. I did like the ring. I thought it was super cute. I got nothing against the ring. They're always tweeting my ex-boyfriend. I get it. I race mixed. It's like, all right. It's like, I get it. You guys you were not impressed with the ex, all right? We're not together anymore. It's been a few years. We can put the photos away. But anyway, so then everyone comes back at me, and beta males will even fight for this. They'll say, are you retarded? And they show me the picture she has of her husband in the bio. Now, again, I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. However, I have to call this what it is. Conservative women will always use their husband, family, and relationship to build their brand. Thank you for proving my point. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I'm saying that's what it is. Now, they always resort to attacking me. They said, what brand is she building, you giraffe? I am pretty tall, so it's fine. She's showing men she's taken and showing a real marriage and real love. And, I just keep thinking, I'm like, is it a real marriage? Is it a real marriage if you're like live streaming your life and like, do you know what I mean? Because I think there's this housewife that lives near me, and I just always think of her when I think of the best wife ever. And if I tell her, and I tell her this all the time, I'm like, you're the best wife ever. And she always says, no, like, I'm so lucky they put up with, like, that's her mindset, right? Oh, no. She's the coolest lady ever. She's so cool. And I don't get that humility. Do you know what I mean? I don't get that, like, humble spirit when you're like, look at my ring, you can't get in. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, am I going crazy? Like, sometimes I'm like, am I being gaslit here? So they said, what brand is she building? I said, look how awesome I am for being, I should have said married. I think I did talk to text. Not saying it's good or bad. It is what it is. There's something about in this society. Like if I had a teacher, right? And every day the teacher was like, look at my ring, look at my ring, look at my ring. Before she started the class, I would think something's up. Like there's something wrong with this lady. Do you know what I mean? Like I would think something's kind of weird. But, it's like when political commentators are talking about politics and they're like, look at my ring, look at my, and I'm not saying all of them do this, right? Or look at me, look how awesome I am. It makes me start to think that something's off. I don't know. Is that immoral? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is it immoral for me to like notice this? And then I thought about it a little bit more and I'm like, modern marriage is marketing for brand building. I think Rollo has an essay on this. But that's really what it is, because women do this on a smaller scale. It started when I was younger on Facebook. Oh my God, I thank God every day that Twitter did not exist when I was growing up. I'm not going to trash talk anyone here, but oh my God, holy shit. Because it's really not fun for the kids. Do you know what I mean? It's not really fun for the kids to have to pose for your mom's social media, right? It's just not fun, right? Yes, women use the ring and their husbands for status. It's not good or bad, but it's not what conservative women pretend to be. And this is their response. They say, you're sad, you're miserable. You're a mud shark. I get it, guys. I get it. I'm an equal opportunity employer, but yes, do you know what I mean? I don't know what my personal life has to do with this, and I can even say this from experience, because I did, when I was younger, I did have a public relationship, and that's probably, it was not good. I wish I didn't do that at all. I really wish I didn't. And now they tweet me pictures forever. They do. But usually when you're doing that sort of thing, and I can speak from experience, it's something you're insecure about, right? When you're constantly having to prove to the world that your relationship is awesome, it's usually not awesome. I get it. They're saying, go get a husband. I get it. I understand. Look. I understand. I understand their point of view, right? Maybe I'm not the best messenger, right? Maybe there's some, and I always try to point to the men that are better than me, right? There are many men better than me that know this stuff, and I'll always point to them and say, Kevin Samuels was amazing. Myron is awesome. Rollo, even though he's not the biggest fan of me, awesome. But just from my point of view, it's becoming very performative. All right, okay, now they'll say, it's normal for people to post and share life milestones. And a ring is a symbol of the next chapter. So that's the next thing, is the women will say, this is a normal thing. This is normal, Pearl. And to that I say, for women, the good people gender, not all. They don't do that. Like, when I think about my brothers, who they're dating is not really a part of their, like, most men don't have an online brand. What the fuck are you guys talking about? That's normal for women. And women normalize this to give them power, because it serves as marketing for their next husband, and beta male simps will die on the hill of them doing this. And they don't understand what's going on. And it gives them social power, because after they can say, ooh, I was abused. Okay, let's see what's next. So that was my tweets today. I streamed for like 4 hours talking about this on Twitter. Mama used to say, don't air your dirty laundry if you don't want advice on how to clean it. Same goes for anything you put out there. Yeah, I know. And that's why I can't really blame the people for tweeting at me my ex from years ago, because, you know, it is embarrassing, but I did it to myself, and I got to live with that consequence, right? That is a consequence. But I would warn, speaking from experience, I would warn, because you got to think, what good are you going to do by putting your thing on the internet? You've now become material for my show, so I guess I'm not going to discourage you. Women should post less about their relationship and instead of spend more time with the kids, drain their man's balls, and less energy on clout. Now, it's totally fine for them to do it because I get content for my show, so I don't really mind. But I think people are tired of performative conservatism. And it's really sad that the only traditional women that we're going to have in the future are women that build a brand and make content off of being traditional. And that the traditional women, like the one I live near, they're just never coming back. Or maybe it's not a bad thing, right? It just is what it is. I said I liked all the rings. I did not criticize the rings. I don't think that's important. All right. So again, this girl named Allie says, I would have gotten engaged with a ring pop if that's all he had. I can't imagine turning down your nose to the size of a ring. Okay. But this, again, it's still virtue signaling. It's saying, I am a good person because I would accept a small ring. On one hand, I got to respect Emily for she just comes out and is like, yeah, I'm a whore. I'm gold digging. As much as people criticize that out in the open, like roughness in a way or whatever, where she's like, yeah, I did drug. Yeah, whatever. It's more honest than what these ladies were doing. Because a lot of the guys that build their brand off of their wife, you don't really know what your wife was doing at 18. A lot of guys, their girlfriends had jobs where I'm like, I'm sure she's got something, right? It's not until you've seen a mother in person who does performative marriage till you can spot it. And we just had these where I grew. It's like the Facebook mothers. They moved to LinkedIn and now they're on Twitter. I said it doesn't count as traditional marriage if you're making money off of it and broadcasting private moments. Because I'll see these influencers pushing traditional marriage. And I'm like, but what you have, it's not like if I'm live streaming. Are you guys better than OnlyFans models? If you're live streaming your private lives at home? I mean, because the OnlyFans models, they're live streaming private, their sex lives, which okay, maybe it's worse. But it's the same concept. Do you see what I mean? It's the same, pattern of thinking as you're broadcasting private things for the world. Yeah, and that's kind of the trend. That's where it's going. Is private things are becoming public. The liberal women are going to make it OnlyFans. The conservative women are going to make it marriage, and it's just going to be a live stream off. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm really not. I think there's people that make it work. I think Mr. Beast and his girlfriend are kind of wholesome. I think it's kind of cute what they're doing, and he's owning it, right? But he's not pretending to be Mr. Trad. It's impossible for conservative women to not use their marriage for clout. I've just never seen it. I've never seen a woman get married and not use it to signal status to their followers, to their group chat or whatever. I've just never seen it. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it exists. I don't. New marriage is brand building marriage. Just more of the wedding ring. Yeah, it is just I'm just being gaslit this week. I'm really tired of being gaslit and just told about the ex-boyfriend. I get it. You guys don't like the whatever, but anyway. So, yeah. This is the future. Their Twitter accounts give, women's Twitter accounts give them followers and money. And guess what they use it for? Their kids, their ring, and private family moments. So, yeah, now marriage is not only a contract now, but it's a brand. So, okay, so now we're going to go and react to Candace Owens. Oh, this was a reaction I did. Let me see. Just these random. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. I love this new laptop. It's like working. The keyboard doesn't get caught. This was worth how much Apple extorted me for. Okay, so this is Candace Owens, and she's talking about this Macron thing again.
Rather than maybe at first going after the author of the book, Xavier Poussard.
This is another one. It's all performative. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, if you're praying and you're live streaming praying, or like taking pictures at church and like trying to draw attention to yourself praying, I'm wrong for noticing this is like a clout thing. But if you guys do it for marriage, I'm like the villain. If I notice that this is for clout. Okay. All right.
Who is a Frenchman, for defamation. That would be the first thing. Why don't you launch, at least at the same time, both of these suits? I'm going to go after Candace and Xavier Poussard. They are instead only going after me for defamation and not the person who sourced this entire quote unquote rumor. There is, let me tell you, Piers, too many people who have watched this series, okay? They're watching your show now and they know that you are not accurately presenting what has happened here. But also, Piers, I think you are better than defending a pedocriminal network, right? And that's the biggest piece of the story, is how many people around them have gone down, publicly admitted that they were pedophiles and were involved in this campaign at the beginning. Even if you removed the allegation, which I believe from the bottom of my heart, like I said early on, I would stake my entire career on the notion that she was actually born.
Okay, I gotta give it. Candace is kind of funny. This is the most useless thing to go after. Like, I just don't care if this guy is a dude, but I do find this entertaining. Going to church for Insta is just an attention horse. Okay.
Jean-Michel Trugnel. I believe that, right? And I'm willing to go through this because it's an important story about government deception. But even if you suspended that, you are right now defending a government that lied even about the beginning of their quote unquote love story, in which his parents removed him from school because of this
But I mean, it's like Candace. Like, you didn't lie about the beginning of your love story. I'm sure you left out all the L relationships you had. I mean, maybe this is different because it's like the grooming. It probably is, but it's just, I just don't care. You just couldn't pay me to care. But I will react to this because it does get views. I'm just being honest.
40-year-old teacher who found a 14-year-old student to be sexy or attractive. This is.
Oh, ew. Okay, that's pretty gross. Pretty gross.
This is wrong. Everything that's happening right now in France is wrong and it is perverted. And as a mother, I will stand up to this.
See, that's what I mean. See right there. That's what all the trad women do as a mother. They use motherhood to like signal high status. It's just every time. I mean, like, it's like when women say as a woman, they say as a wife, as a mother. You know, you can kind of see if women are proud of being a wife and mother. But it's like you start to wonder about the incentives when they use it for other things. You know, maybe I think too deeply about this stuff. I'm compromised. How am I compromised? What the hell does that even mean? All right. By the way, the second half of this show, I'm going to go through my thumbnails and titles for the week. And then I'm also going to show you guys how to argue with yourself on stream and how to find topics for shows. That's what I'm going to go through. So make sure you go to pearlinvite.com if you want to be a part of that, or theaudacitynetwork.com. You got to apply. But yeah, log into your Audacity accounts and we'll be live on just the website. Yeah. You think that Candace is correct? I mean, I don't... It's just... My point is more like, this is like the most useless waste of time, just in my opinion. It's just such a waste of her time. I mean, isn't Bridget like 70? Like, this person's almost dead. I mean, if they got away with being a he-she this long, I'm just going to give it to her. You got me. You know. Yeah. I just want to know who I'm compromised by.
And I am confident that we will emerge as the winners of this, because in America, truth is an absolute defense against defamation. And I am telling the truth.
Yeah, it is an absolute defense. And I think there are perfectly legitimate questions about how their relationship started, the massive age gap, and the rest of it. I don't dispute that for a moment. But, you know, as you say, in a defamation case, it ultimately comes down to truth mattering. And it seems to me...
So, Pearl, what's okay to brag about? Well, it's not about okay. Like, you're an adult. You can pick what you want to brag about. But, you know, when women are saying they're so Christian and they have a prideful spirit, it's like, are you? Like, I just can't take it. I have become so a-religious the last few years because it's just gotten too performative for me. And you've lost me. You have lost me. I'm just done with it.
This whole case is going to be resolved in a very straightforward way, because the obvious way to prove that you're wrong and have been systematically lying about it, if you've been doing it deliberately or otherwise, but telling a lie about her, which has obviously caused an enormous amount of hurt, is if they just produce evidence she's a woman. Do you accept if they do that, your whole case disintegrates?
Of course it would disintegrate. Well, first off, no, they would have to prove the actual malice standard in America, which would mean that we knowingly knew this. We went to them with questions and they refused to answer. That is very strange. You're saying you're a victim now because this series came out, and yet you had the power to stop the series when we came to you and said, we're not interested in telling any lies. We actually want to get to the truth of this story. And we asked very simple questions. Did you ever live as a woman named Veronique? I believe, yes, Brigitte Macron, before taking on the identity of Brigitte Trogneau, lived as a woman named Veronique. Why wouldn't you just answer that question and say no? If it gave you so much grief that this rumor was out there, why not respond to that effectively in the 10-year period that you had the time to respond to it? Okay.
Thanks for joining Pearl Chat. You can become a member of my channel now that we're monetized. You only see people that don't care about that are people that are selfish. You sound like a selfish person. You do this shit to only benefit yourself, and you're the problem in the world. I am probably a selfish person. I definitely could be a better person. That's what I try to preface. You know, whenever I talk about modern women, I always try to say we, because I always want to be clear. I'm not better. I mean, I could be a better person. I really could. I understand why people don't like me. I get it. But I'm like autistic with this stuff. So when I see that, like when I see the performance stuff, I just kind of see what it is. I get it. I mean, I understand. I understand.
Brigitte is not a victim. Far from that, I believe Brigitte is actually somebody who has victimized Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron is pathetic. He's absolutely pathetic for letting this go on for so long. You could easily dispel these rumors. And like I said, we were asking for photos from a 30-year period of Brigitte's life. We were not asking for blood. We were asking for simple answer, yes or no. Could you show us some photos of you raising?
Oh my God, wait, hold on. Sorry, I see these replies on the thing we were talking about earlier. Then we'll get back to Brigitte. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be annoying today. All right, it said, one of the trad wives says to me, let me put you in on a little secret. As a married woman who loves posting pictures with her husband, there's zero status in sharing a real life moment. Let me get this straight. There's zero status, but then why do you say as a married woman? Like, why do you say that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like if I said as a doctor, this is my opinion. as a commentator. You're doing it to signal and that's the funny thing. The women, they do exactly what I say they're doing. Like they do the exact thing. And then they gaslight me into saying they're not doing it. I'm like, is this what dating women is like? I would kill myself. I think I would go crazy and just shoot myself in the head. I think I would. There's zero status in sharing a real life moment. That's called joy. Status is sharing achievements. Oh my gosh. Did she just subtly say that oh my gosh. Flaunting success. Not treating marriage like a social badge. Oh my gosh, she doesn't know how bad that is. But hey, if you're stuck in the Stone Age thinking marriage is the only accomplishment of a woman instead of a deliberate choice fueled by love and commitment, that just shows how little you get it. Oh my God, that's so bad. That's so embarrassing for her husband. Women can achieve all they want and proudly celebrate love without dishing its worth. Maybe try catching up on the 21st century. Oh my gosh. That's so embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. All right, I'll keep going. Oh my gosh.
In your alleged children. They failed to produce that and now are pretending that they're victims. And of
but
course,
they're under no
backfiring.
obligation. Candace.
Right,
Candace,
they're not, but don't then complain
obligation.
and say you had to file a lawsuit. They contacted us, Piers. You're under no obligation. We didn't reach out to them.
They
reached out.
But I just kind of wonder, it just seems like this is being nosy. I don't know. And I am nosy. That's one of my flaws. So, I mean, I'm not going to falter for it. This is... Yeah.
To us first.
Hang on. They say they made it crystal clear to you that all your claims were wrong, right? That your basic premise that she's a man is wrong. They said they told you that before. You went ahead anyway. You've carried on. Even when they launched the lawsuit, you've carried on saying the same stuff, right? And it's a massive play on your part. I admire your balls. I mean, it's probably the wrong term.
I get it. I know you guys think I go on Candace too much. The problem is Candace is just a perfect epitome of what I talk about with fake conservative women. She's just such a good example of one. Do you know what I mean? It's just... Do you know what... It's just... It's all performative, and she just does a really good job, with it. And she won. And so she's even, I'll always say there's winners and losers in this game. She did win. She did. And the Crowder thing just made me mad, to be honest. I really would like an apology for him.
To use it, given the issue we're discussing. But I do admire your balls, right? Because you're going for it and you're doubling and trebling and quadrupling down. But ultimately, your entire reputation is now...
I cannot wait. I can't wait till this comes out. Yeah.
Directly linked, it seems to me, to whether Brigitte Macron is male or female. And she proves she's a woman. Where does that leave you?
If she was going to prove she was a woman, she would have done it over the last 10 years. And like I said, they came to us first, and we said we will not
She's funny. I can't help.
Publish this series if you answer questions, okay? So they were on the offense in that moment. I didn't go to them and go, I deserve a response to this. They had their lawyers email us speaking about this question. And so I have been completely honest and transparent with my audience. This matters to me because I'm a mother, and there are too many people around them that have been charged with pedophilia, many who have admitted that they were pedophiles, not even just pedophiles, incestuous pedophiles, people that molested their children that are surrounding them. Even the lawyers that they're dealing with are lawyers that defend pedophile and incest, preferring it to as happy incest when children are molested by their fathers. That's their current lawyer who has attached himself to this case in France, Eric Dupont-Moretti. Everywhere you look, you see a story regarding incest and pedophilia that surrounds this couple. I have presented that to the public. And if you are going to pretend that they have not lied, Piers.
Okay, so go into detail about how she's a fake conservative. Well, so when I say conservative women, you are not a traditional woman unless you were married when you were 18 to 22. Because you're either pro-hypergamy or you're pro-arranged marriage at its core. So remember, feminism is a strategy for women to get the best guy possible. What type of eggs? Fried, hard-boiled, poached, or scrambled? Well, mine are scrambled, obviously. I'm old. So, Candace, feminism is a strategy for women to use as much of their youth on themselves as humanly possible and still stick the landing with a guy with money, essentially. So conservative women are like the best at this because they use all of their youth on themselves and then stick the landing at like 32 with British, with her, she did with British royalty. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, if anything, she played the game better than any other woman has ever done. I think there's one other girl I rate higher than her, but she played it very well. But it's not traditional because, all right, women want to be with 20% of men. Arranged marriages fixed that. It kind of forced women to be with the men they don't like, and every guy got a woman. You are not pro traditional marriage unless you're pro arranged marriage and getting married young. But she flaunts female choice, which leaves men sexless and then shames men for watching porn. And she kind of does the thing where she shames the male sex drive. And then when men show any ounce of masculinity, she shames it. And you saw that with the Nick interview. So it's not really a personal thing because I don't know her. I met her once at an event, briefly. I gave her a Women Shouldn't Vote t-shirt, actually. But she does do, it's kind of her, she's kind of the epitome of, grifting the traditionalism, but only taking the parts that benefit her, which is perfectly fine. That's what a reasonable person does. You take the parts that sort of. But it just kind of proves my point. Yeah, so.
A couple of weeks ago, when Brigitte smacked Emmanuel Macron on camera on the plane, the Élysée Palace answered and said that it was Russian propaganda and that it never happened. They lie all the time. It's very easy to lie in France, where they have laws against speech and laws against cyberbullying and where journalists are afraid. It's not so easy to lie in America. I'm glad they brought this to my turf because now the French people are watching and cheering, knowing that this couple has lied to them from the very beginning. They are due for an exposure. And no, I do not believe that she is going to be able to now or willing to suddenly prove that she is a woman when she could have done that for the last 8 years.
Okay, tell me about the phone call from Donald Trump in which he tried to get you to drop all this.
Yeah, certainly. I received a phone call, and to be clear, this was on the very same day that Emmanuel Macron visited the White House, ostensibly to discuss Ukraine and Russia. I received a phone call at first from a third party saying that, and what I was told was that Emmanuel Macron, who was negotiating in good faith regarding an end to the Ukraine and Russia war, which would have required his signature on some EU stuff, was holding up stuff because he wanted Trump to speak to me, to get me to stop talking about Brigitte Macron. Again, very odd measure when we already said that we would stop speaking about Brigitte Macron. If you had simply answered our questions, you could have stopped this. And then the next day, or maybe it was within 48 hours, I received a phone call from Trump himself. He obviously was not following the series. He is not someone who I think watches a bunch of podcasting shows, but he said he was very confused.
I don't like that you and Candace are beefing, but look, I don't have beef. I seriously don't. She just embodies what I'm talking about, right? Been rocking with you. It's like the women using their family to build their brand. I'm not even saying it's right or wrong. It seems to have worked out for her, but that's what it is. Been rocking with you, still supporting, just hoping you guys can have a conversation. I don't think she would, to be honest, but it's fine.
When Emmanuel Macron took him to the side of a car and brought this up, asked him if he knew him, asked me to stop speaking about his wife, wanted him to get in touch with me to make that happen. Again, that's an extraordinary effort for a state leader to get on a plane and speak to another state leader to shut up a podcaster in America, when all you have to do to dispel the rumors is to tell the truth and answer the questions. It's so easy. It's so easy to do that. I would never let it get to a point where I had to sue
what did you say to Trump?
Podcaster in France. Well, I told him in the short run while they were having those negotiations that I wouldn't say anything, which is why we didn't report on it for, I think it was about 4 months or 5 months later. And that then afterwards, once they were done having those discussions, that I would reach out again and tell the person that I was going to speak about it publicly on my platform, because obviously I believe in free speech.
I mean, it's a fascinating situation. You've got a world leader coming after a podcaster. That on its own is fascinating, but it's because you have such a big following and because they believe, from my understanding, that unlike the French journalists where they were getting a small amount of traction, but not very much, it's only when you embraced this wholeheartedly and began to do this as a big series on your very popular show and channel, that at that point they realized this was going around the world and they had to do something about it. And they've launched this unprecedented act. I just can't, I mean, look, again, I might be wrong, but I cannot imagine a scenario where the president and the first lady of France launch an action like this unless they are 100% certain that they are right, that she is a woman.
Okay, then can you answer why?
Because
Because you're saying it's because I'm big. They've gone after small journalists, right? They just lost in the upper courts against the initial journalist that brought this forward for defamation. If you lost this on your home court, why would you take this lawsuit overseas? It doesn't make any sense, right? There had to have been some evidence presented, which they only presented an expired ID, which is completely ridiculous, an expired voting ID. So you're telling me that you're not going to go after, you lose the journalist on your home court, but you take this now overseas because I'm a bigger journalist. And to be clear, Piers, Xavier Poussard, they did launch a legal action against him on the same day they launched a legal action against me, okay? But they're not suing him for defamation. They are suing him for cyberbullying. So I got all of my information sourced from Xavier Poussard's book. I did a presentation on Xavier Poussard's book, and yet you don't go after Xavier Poussard for defamation, and he lives in France. Why is that? The answer to that question is because Xavier Poussard has been on the offense against them. He won in the courts to have her Sacré-Cœur, which is Sacred Heart, is where Brigitte Macron allegedly went to school in high school. He won for them to release we would call it in America, a yearbook, which would have had a photo.
Oh my gosh, she might be right.
Of Brigitte Macron in it. The school is refusing to give it to him. So the court would have to at first acknowledge the actions that this brave journalist brought against Brigitte Macron to expose this story before they would acknowledge her actions against him. They are being very cunning in how they're dealing with this. They launched this lawsuit because they failed in their first defamation efforts. So they thought if they launched an even bigger lawsuit as a PR move, and to be clear.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's performative because there's no way you're getting sued all the time and bringing like peace at home. I mean, guys, it's partially why I stopped doing the debate shows all the time, was because I just felt like I couldn't be a good girlfriend and like be in the ring that much, like arguing 6 days a week. I'm like, I'm going to drive some man nuts. I like it here. It's a little bit better because I can just mute them if they are out of pocket. But yeah.
Piers, this is not all that they've done. We have evidence that they hired a crisis PR team here in the United States before I launched my first episode of Becoming Brigitte. When they were in communication with us back in January, they used a UK firm and they contacted that UK firm and had them go out.
Okay. All right. But with arranged marriages, why the hell would any woman want to be forced to marry? She will never respect you. I totally agree with you. But that gives us the same problem. If women aren't forced to marry, women will put themselves in harems and we're back to promiscuity. We're back to women being whores. I mean, that's pretty much it. If you give women choice, either women have choice or they have no choice. If women have no choice, then we can go back to traditional relationships. If you give women choice, then we're whores. That's it. That's it. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. You either believe in arranged marriages or you don't. But it's never going to happen. It doesn't matter. But again, feminism is a strategy for women to spend our youth on ourselves.
To find a crisis PR team in America ahead of my series. Why would you do that? It's completely crazy. You're in contact with us. You have the power to stop this series.
All right. If, as I believe, you are completely wrong and you end up losing this case, would you accept that everything you've been doing, if she establishes to the world she is a woman, that everything you've been doing would constitute, in that eventuality, a very cruel, vindictive campaign of bullying?
I don't know. I'm not really buying this. I don't know. This Brigitte, I don't know.
Against a woman, challenging
I want to be
her
very clear. I would have never done this. Like I said, I was not interested in being the crusader against this, because I went to them and I said, if you answer these questions, we will not run the series. I'm only interested in truth. I only went after the story because
I don't know. It's just so nosy. I just don't care. I just feel like it's this person's problem. I mean,
I was shocked by the pedocriminal network which surrounds them. It's shocking. Okay. There are real children being harmed right now in Paris, and there are real citizens that are being gaslit about these circumstances. I don't know many people who can say all of my homies are pedophiles, but it just keeps happening by accident. This is a very big story in France, and the people in France are behind me for a reason, Piers. Like I said, this would not have been a globally impactful series if I was just up there flipping my hair saying, well, it kind of looks like her wig is bad. We presented a lot of evidence. Xavier presented a lot of evidence. And I believe in my heart of hearts that she is not only a groomer and a creep for the relationship that she began with Emmanuel Macron when he was just a student and 14 years old in that play, but also that they are liars that are leading this country, France, down the drain. Truly, I believe it's in my heart that Brigitte Macron was born a child, actually not a man, but born a male named Jean-Michel Trogneau. And everything that they have done has only further led me to that conclusion, because they are not.
See, the one thing is, though, just because you're right, it doesn't mean you'll win in court. And that's what a lot of women don't realize sometimes. You might be right and you might lose in court. I mean, you have female privilege, so you might. Oh my God. They just found a bunch of kids in an underground bunker in Alabama. That's crazy.
Behaving as though truth is on their side. You don't try to silence journalists.
Well, last time we discussed this on Uncensored, I bet you $150,000 that you were wrong and that she's a woman. On X, when we discussed this further, I doubled it. This is for charity, to $300,000. You haven't accepted that yet. So right now, $300,000 to charity. I say she's a woman. Are you prepared to take that bet?
I am 1,000% prepared to take that bet. I actually didn't see your tweet, or I would have accepted it live. So we can totally accept that bet.
Okay,
I believe Brigitte Macron is a male, and that they will not be presenting any evidence to the contrary, because they would have done it already.
Okay. Candace, I appreciate you coming on Uncensored. I think you're completely wrong, but we shall see. I think the great thing about this action is we're going to get to the bottom of this extraordinary story. Thank you very much indeed for coming back on.
I'll be back to get my money, Piers.
We shall see. I'm very confident.
All right, so that's the reaction for today. I guess we'll... I got to give it to her. She's entertaining. She's entertaining. Okay, so now we're going to just go on the website, and I'm going to talk about how I pick topics. How I pick topics, and how to argue with yourself to do a show. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek before we go. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit. So the one thing you got to know about picking topics is conflict is always going to do better. Now, I've said this before. Now, even if you want to be in a non-controversial field, and I'll tell you guys when to cut the YouTube stream, not yet. If you want to be in a non-controversial field, this can even apply to, like, let's say Apple computers. And I want to figure out the best Apple computer. If you do, why the new Apple computer is a terrible choice, or why the Apple computer is not as good or is better than this. It's going to do better than this is the new Apple computer, right? The more conflict you can show in your thumbnails, the better. The more conflict you can put in your titles, the better. But this also applies to shows. People love conflict and they love to see arguing. But if you don't want to argue with other people, there is a skill of learning to argue with yourself. And when you develop the skill of being able to riff and just talk for 2 hours straight about like different topics. All right, this is how I would do it if I want to talk about modern women. So you want to have a group that's arguing with another group. All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about modern women. Now, modern women, we don't make the best choices. We have a tendency to think that we're better than everyone else. But, the men are tired. Do you see how I say that? But I say the men, and I'm going to what the men are saying. The men are tired. The men, they are sick and tired of women's bullshit. They say you guys shouldn't have such high standards. They say that you shouldn't. Do you see? And now you argue with yourself. And we're going to go to the website, but go to pearlinvite.com if you want to apply. And then if you guys even want me to look at your channel, I can on the website. Did I get some sun? I don't know. I might be sunburnt. I don't know. It might be. I'm not really wearing a lot of makeup today because I didn't feel like it today. Okay. So we're going to go to the audacitynetwork.com and I will read your stuff there, but so